now know who has ruled the Oscars after perhaps the most chaotic and unpredictable race, I'd say, so far. So we are here in Sky News headquarters. I'm Bethany Manel, arts and entertainment reporter. I'm here with Debbie Ridgard, who is our entertainment radio reporter. And we also have out on the ground in LA, staying up late to see the stars go out, Katie Spencer on the Vanity Fair red carpet. And we've also got Jason at Elton John red carpet. Now look, I can see, actually, Katie can't even talk to us right now because she's literally talking to the stars. Let's have a little listen in, see who she's talking to, and then we'll come back to you and tell you what we're chatting about tonight.
Award season that feel a little bit like it hadn't got the attention that it deserved, really.
I know, right? Like Denis especially, like without Denis, there is no June visual effects. You know what I mean? So yeah.
I mean, you've got so many sort of fans of these films as well now. People love the Denis take on it as well. Exactly. Is he a true sort of visionary in terms of bringing this?
He's the best. You know, he is a visionary, and he's such a pleasure to actually work with as well. You know, it's never chaotic. It's never crazy chaos. What are we doing now? No, it's always a good progression in his movies, and it's an absolute pleasure to actually work with him.
We had the sandworm come out a couple of times during this ceremony as well. Was that fun?
I actually got a picture with that too. It's great.
Can I be really cheeky and have a little lift of this?
Oh my goodness.
Whoa, this is brilliant. Oh my God, they're heavy, aren't they? So where do you keep your other one as well, and where will this one go?
Just on top of the cabinet. You know, that's where it's going to go. Like we were at the BAFTAs 2 weeks ago, and we won that as well. And it's yeah, look, it's growing. So that's great.
It's thoroughly deserved. Go and enjoy your night and have a brilliant time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Well done. Look, girls, we've already had an Oscar winner with us tonight. Very exciting. What did you make of the ceremony?
What a ceremony. I think we were all a bit apprehensive going into it, weren't we? Because we felt like anyone could win almost any of the categories. I think it's fair to say that it was a pretty lively one. I quite like Conan in the hot seat. And let's talk about Mikey Madison, the surprise star of the evening, taking Best Actress, eh?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, she's yet to come our way at the moment, but they are slowly, the stars, starting to filter out of the Governor's Ball, which is what takes place very close to the Kodak Theatre across town. And then they generally, if your ticket to this party is having one of those gold statuettes, so I would imagine within the course of the next few hours we will see Mikey Madison probably head this way. What you don't really realise, though, is, look, you can see this line of people behind us. You may think it would be very simple to try and get hold of some of these celebrities, but actually there's this invisible field between us and them, which means you're actually not really meant to sort of heckle or shout or anything. If they want to come over to you, they will come, we're told. But we've had people like Jeff Goldblum's already gone inside, Cynthia Erivo just very recently went past us, Kim Kardashian's in there as well, and you know, one person who didn't have to wait in line, pretty much everyone does have to wait in line, one person who didn't, Amazon billionaire Jeff Bezos got to cut the line. So there you go. If you're rich and powerful, you can
one could say he had prime delivery, eh? He just went straight in, no messing about. Yeah, that's what you pay for, isn't it? Conan O'Brien, watch your back, because Katie, I also think I know you're whipped off to TV any minute now, but did you just get to hold an Oscar?
I know, and they're really, really heavy. It doesn't. I held one last year, but you kind of forget the whole weight in it. If you actually, if they hand them over, it's going. But yeah, it's very exciting. June Part 2. That was the one that Paul won them for. Incredible film, really. And actually, it's been they did quite well. I think they got 2, didn't they?
Yeah, June? They took 2. So they took sound and visual effects.
As well. Wicked got a couple. Yeah. And we saw the sandworm feature as well. It was sort of butt of a few of the jokes from Conan O'Brien.
Not once,
but twice. I think the ceremony was quite pacey this year, so it was, quite a fun one to watch. And we haven't even mentioned Adrian Brody and the chewing gum.
I mean, he didn't want to get off the stage, did he? Forget about forgetting to take his chewing gum out before he went on and lobbing it off stage as he started. I mean, needs must. But then once he was on, he stuck like chewing gum, didn't he? He was not coming off for love or money.
I'm not sure it's terribly appropriate boyfriend behaviour, is it? I think that is probably being discussed and dissected across social media as we speak, whether or not you would accept your boyfriend's chewing gum if it was thrown your way on an occasion like that. But yeah, it's 5.5 minutes. Bear in mind, you're only meant to speak for 45 seconds. You spoke for 5.5 minutes on stage.
Well, let's face it,
Adrian Brody and
it's the brutalist. It's the brutalist. Of course he spoke for the longest time when he got on the stage. It's a 3.5-hour epic. I'm surprised
to it by now.
I'm surprised he didn't have an interval in his speech, if I'm quite honest with you, Katie.
I think we could have done with that. Look, I'm going to have to try and get a few more celebrities, but come back to us in a little while. I'll try my best to get some more celebs.
Go for it, Katie. We'll talk to you again soon when you have the next star at your side. It is buzzing now, isn't it? You can feel the buzz. Now, of course, all the stars, they've done the ceremony, the 3.5 hours-ish, a bit like the Brutalist.
Just like the Brutalist. It was actually just shorter than the Brutalist. So if you were able to watch the Brutalist and sit there and happy, the Oscars was a nice little cakewalk for you.
You could get through it. Yeah, we'd already practiced, hadn't we? So after that, basically all the stars go upstairs to the governor's ball, and that's where they get their statuettes engraved with their names. So that's kind of the process that's been happening between the end of the ceremony and now. And now all this queuing and buzzing that's going on is the stars filtering out and going to the after parties. Vanity Fair is probably the biggest, most famous one, right?
Definitely. Sure, we already saw Charlie Puth was in the background just behind Katie, ready to go. Well, he wasn't at the ceremony, but it is the big moment in Hollywood. I was actually there in 2019, just outside to have a nosy.
Me too.
Bring it on, look at that. We're, oh my God, just moments away from each other, but we're getting to see the buzz of it. You can see every single person in Hollywood is trying to go to some after party. Vanity Fair is the one at the very top of that list.
It really is. Mostly you sort of need your Oscar to go in. But as you said, there are some people who maybe were presenting or who are there as a guest or a friend of, or just a really big star like obviously Kim Kardashian.
Exactly. If it's somebody has an A-lister face already, I think that's their invite.
You're in. I mean, it looks, I think we were kind of going into this, we were thinking it might be quite a black kind of sartorial night, but actually there's quite a bit of colour and buzz and shape, and obviously a big, actually not even a big part, but a little chunk and a kind of a big kind of sentiment to tonight's ceremony was very much about the fires, talking about the devastation, supporting the community. We had the firefighters on stage at one point, did we, telling some jokes, which was actually quite witty. But actually, the general beat of the night was really upbeat and buzzy, I thought.
Yeah. And I think as well that kind of ties into the idea of having Conan O'Brien as a host, because his comedy is brilliant in that it's just so raw and natural. And like that, when there were those little moments of having the firefighters taking on jokes, it felt perfectly in sync with the rest of the show, just like when Ben Stiller had his production design moment. Like that really tied in quite well just to Conan O'Brien's humour. And it kind of makes me go, oh, remember when he was on the late night? And it was just a really enjoyable watch on TV, so it was a nice return to see him there.
It was a kind of interesting, we had Ben Stiller at one point, and then we had Adam Sandler doing a skit at another point, and their actors, quite a lot of people get mixed up. So I kind of thought, oh, that's interesting, they both got starring roles. It was a fun kind of like little, particularly Ben Stiller actually, I liked his kind of, when he awarded his prize, it was production design, wasn't it? And they did a very funny skit about his height and about the stage setup.
Yeah, and the thing as well with Adam Sandler, so that was referencing a viral moment that happened a couple of weeks ago, maybe about a month ago now at this stage, of that when we were talking about Timothée Chalamet's name, it sounds like something he would say in one of his comedy films. And so it was a real moment of TikTok meeting the Oscars, because this had been a viral moment on social media and they just got to play with it in a whole new way with a brand new audience too.
I love that, because there's quite a lot of discussion going into tonight, wasn't there, as to whether Timothée Chalamet could pull it off and nab the best actor. And kind of, I think everyone kind of thought, no, it's Adrian Brody's. But then after the SAG Awards, Chalamet kind of bobbed to the top, and everyone thought, oh, are the Oscars going to kind of embrace the young actor? So it's interesting that he didn't actually get the award, but there was a kind of big skit around him, maybe to get everyone looking on TikTok and looking on social media, it, even if he didn't take home the trophy, right?
I suppose because he's the one actor that has 2 films in this year as well. So even when we were showing some of the nominations, it was showing, oh, here's a complete unknown. Next film, what's it going to be? Oh, Timothée Chalamet again with Dune Part 2. And you kind of have to celebrate him. He was on par of going to become the youngest actor to receive Best Actor if he did win. Unfortunately, it didn't go his way. Got Adrian Brody.
Time.
So Adrian Brody still holds on to that title. He got that for The Pianist back in
2003.
Yeah.
22 years ago.
Wild.
So scary. And he was 29. So he just... And actually, that's another viral moment that was recreated tonight. So in 2003, when he won his award, he did get a bit of criticism because he basically gave Halle Berry a big old snog. She was presenting him with the award and he was obviously caught up in the moment, but sort of took her in an embrace and kissed her. She dealt with it like a true pro. But retrospectively, everyone kind of said, oh, is that really okay? You know, that she wasn't up for that. She didn't know about that. And she even commented, hadn't she, since, you know, that it kind of was unexpected. She went with it because she's a professional. But you don't really expect to be kind of kissed, you know, forcefully. However, they did recreate it tonight, didn't they, on the red carpet?
Except she took the moment herself. So she was the one who came in with the kiss. So it was real role reversed coming off to 2025, yeah.
I like that. Kind of righting the wrong somewhat. I don't know. Well, let's see when she gets her next Oscar, she can maybe do something else and we can go on from there. But it really was quite a buzzy night. And like you said, I think Conan O'Brien did really well. He made me laugh out loud in several places. And I'm sure it's not just because I was overtired and up all night. I was thinking this is really quite witty and quite funny.
I think so as well, because it's very touch and go about when you have a comedian presenting a show like this, because I know for a lot of the nominees when Ricky Gervais is on that they are holding on to their seats for dear life because they know they're going to be a target.
Roasted, literally.
Whereas with Conan, he did it in a sweet way of he was roasting them, but I don't think anyone got massively offended.
Yeah, because he's that beautiful mix, I think, because I wasn't really across Conan O'Brien's work a lot. I don't watch a lot of his stuff. I'm not really into his late night show. But he's that right mix of insider and outsider. He is in Hollywood. You know, he's a big star. Everyone knows who he is, and he knows the majority of the people in that audience. But I think he's just edgy enough to be able to push it. And I think he judged it really well tonight. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised. This was his first gig hosting the show, following Jimmy Kimmel, who's had done it for 4 years, last year. Good enough, but I wonder if Conan might become a bit of a Billy Crystal here and a repeat presenter.
I think so, because when we were watching Jimmy Kimmel, it was the same show the following year and the following year, and it was the same type of joke, and it wasn't reinventing itself, and it felt a little bit stale. Conan has kind of brought it back to being the fresh show that we want a 3.5-hour ceremony to be. You want a bit of excitement. You want something to bring you back from those tired eyes that you've been watching this ceremony for so long. And especially when you're in a venue like that, just imagine sitting in that seat for 3.5 hours. And if you're not nominated, or if your first category is the one that you're part of, so you have 3 hours and 15 minutes to sit through of going, okay, dinner time is in 3 hours. It's tough.
I'm sure some stars have talked previously about sneaking in snacks and drinks. And there's even seat fillers, isn't there? Because the Dolby Theatre, like you said, is this massive space. And it's a TV event. It's primarily, that's what this is. That's how the Oscars and the Academy Awards makes its money. This is a big TV show. They need eyeballs on it. And when people are up out of their seats going for a wee or doing their makeup, they don't want it to look empty. So there is literally a queue of probably bit part actors or out of work actors waiting in the scenes just to nip into the seats if someone gets up to go to the toilet. It's crazy.
It's a lot as well. Students take this opportunity as well, because what they do is they do an open casting call. So if you are on some of those websites, you're able to apply. And you can get this and you can get granted and you get to go to the Oscars and enjoy that moment and maybe sit beside your favourite celeb. It's one of my favourite threads to go down on social media, because a lot of the times nowadays people do a day in the life or come with me to see this moment. And last year we got a lot of that with the seat fillers, and they got to tell us about some of the stories that we didn't get to see on camera, but because they were a seat filler on their table, in a round table, they got to discuss with the biggest stars and get some juicy gossip too.
Oh my God, in the future, I can see that being a classic Oscars narrative, because you know how the Oscars loves a narrative. Imagine if you started off as a seat filler And then, like, the following year, you end up being the Mikey Madison or the ingenue that gets chosen for a film. And, I mean, what a journey that would be. It would be pretty fantastic.
That is the one part that I felt sorry for Jeremy Strong, because he had that photo of him outside, hoping that he would get there one day. He got the Oscar nomination. That is a win in itself.
Yeah.
Like, because the amount of performances and the amount of roles that have happened in the last 12 months to get to this point anyway is a huge achievement. But I know it must feel a little bit sour not taking home the prize.
Well, that's one of the big moments of the night, isn't it? When you've got the screen and you've got the 4 actors there, or 5 actors, 4 of them waiting to be told basically you've not taken the prize. Everyone prepares their, oh my goodness, I'm still so happy and I'm so happy for you face. But let's face it, of course you're hoping to get it. Hope against hope, even if you know you're not the front runner. And of course people like, was it Angela Bassett famously looked a bit disappointed. And you know what? It's human nature. You would be disappointed. You're in a competition. You want to win, right?
Yeah, I was actually only talking to her a few weeks ago for Zero Day, and I brought it up of talking about how this is a huge moment in your life, and when you have it on camera of you losing this, and she felt like she deserved it. It was her moment, and her performance in Black Panther was stunning as well.
Undeniable.
And she was saying it's just now she has learned as well along the way, even with that, to hold herself with grace, and that's what she wanted to do, and say, I'm honest. I'm going to show that I'm not happy, or that I'm upset, or I'm disappointed, because why would I fake it with a smile when I want to be the honest person that I am? And I thought that was a really genuine way that she just made me love her even more when she gave me that response, because having that moment of saying, I'm sad and it's okay to be sad, that's what you want in an actor.
Exactly. You're not taking away from the winner, but you can say, actually, I feel disappointed.
Yeah.
Talking about disappointed, we have to mention Diane Warren.
Yes.
Nominated 16 times for an Oscar. Again tonight she was nominated, but she was pipped to the post for its Best Original Song.
Yeah,
I think I'm right in saying it's Best
song,
Original song.
It was El Mal and Emilia Perez, which I will say, I actually really loved El Mal. I thought it was a brilliant song, and I know there's a lot of controversy
We speak
around.
Spanish as well, so you must have been enjoying it on several levels.
Exactly, yeah. And so, like, watching it for the first time, Zoe Saldana's performance in Emilia Perez hold the entire film together, and having El Mal be the song that wins was just the icing on the cake for her, because it was kind of proof for her. A lot of the times in all of the roles that she's done, she's either painted green, she's painted blue, she's speaking English, and this is the role that she gets to sing, dance, act in Spanish in her native tongue, and it's a beautiful homecoming for her to say, okay, I know I'm this renowned actress when it comes to the big blockbusters, but here I am, the language that I speak every day, and you're recognizing me with that too.
She's the second, I think, well, she's up there with the highest grossing actresses that we have out there. Like you said, painted blue in Avatar and of course Guardians of the Galaxy. And you're right, this was a very different role for her. And triple threat. She nailed the singing, the dancing, the acting. The Spanish, obviously, because as you say, it's her mother tongue. But she absolutely nailed it. And it's also fair to say that nearly every time you see a clip for Emilia Perez, it was that El Mal clip. Exactly. So it was almost like this kind of double whammy of, perhaps I liked the film, but oh wow, Zoe Saldana is the key. And again, that was another debate going. There's so many debates around Emilia Perez. Let's just say their campaign self-detonated, really, didn't it? For lots of reasons, for various. The representation was a discussion before the big kind of Twitter issues around Carla Sofia Gascon's tweets, troublesome, problematic tweets to marginalised communities of all sorts. Then, of course, you had the trans community early on saying, actually, I'm not quite sure this is a positive message, the reason that the gender affirmation takes place. Yeah. You had Mexican actors saying, this is supposed to be a Mexican story and you've really only got one Mexican sort of
Adriana Paz, who lives in Spain.
So kind of, already had so many issues. Plus, it's all about the narco wars, which I know clearly that does exist, but it's something that's claimed hundreds of thousands of lives. Is a song and dance the best way to debate it? All that was obviously open for debate. However, the Carla Sofia Gascon tweets were not up for debate. They were indefensible, and that was very clear. She was actually there tonight, wasn't she? And Conan O'Brien actually picked her out in one of his early speeches and told a joke at her expense, which I felt she took very well. And then we moved on, and her name was not mentioned again. Actually, it was interesting on stage when Emilia Perez won its 2 Oscars. At no point was her name specifically mentioned. The cast in general was mentioned, but no one.
And that's the thing, that's also the second time in the last few days that she has been targeted for those tweets. And in the César Awards, the host actually brought that up as well, of saying a collection of awards, including best tweets. And so she wants to attend these awards. She's in a different section, I believe, to the rest of the cast of Emilia Perez, but was also nominated for Best Actress. So it's one of the biggest moments in her life.
Really, really is. She didn't come along to the BAFTAs, it has to be said. I think at that point Netflix had withdrawn their support for her travelling for the film, so that made sense that she then wasn't at the BAFTAs, but she wasn't there. Oh, hello. Now we've got Jason Manzeri for us on the Elton John red carpet. He has just captured a celebrity.
Julia Fox.
Julia Fox, well, dressed quite interestingly. Let's have a listen in and see what's going on.
Look, I want to talk to you. Honora won really big tonight. Big surprises as well. 5 awards, and in every speech they thanked sex workers. And I wanted to know from your perspective, what does that mean to you to sort of see a film like that about a sex worker getting recognition, and also the sex working community getting recognition?
I think it's such a big step. I know that when I watched Honora, I felt like, oh my God, they're telling my story. You know, I married a Russian guy from Coney Island, and we got married in Vegas after knowing each other 30 days, and obviously I was a sex worker. So I was like, oh my God, like I don't think I've ever felt so seen in a movie. You know, and I think it's just such a beautiful, beautiful film, and it's such a step forward for sex workers. And my only hope is that one day, you know, a sex worker can be up there on that stage too, giving that speech and receiving that award. You know, I think it's definitely a step in the right direction. You know, it needed to happen in order to have that progress that we so desperately need. You know, I feel like sex workers are so stigmatized. You know, it's like, you did it, that's it, you're marked, scarlet letter, you're dirty, but it's like so not true. Like, I'm sure that any random man has probably had more sex than your average sex worker, but it's like, why? You know, why are they not dirty? I mean, they are dirty, yeah.
And when you see not just, you know, in all the acceptance speeches, whether it's the BAFTAs or tonight at the Oscars, you've got the people behind the film, the director, you know, the lead star, also saying, and I share this with the sex worker community.
Yeah, I mean, I you know, I'd love to see what that looks like for them, you know. I feel like this is such a great step in the right direction, you know. Yeah.
We need to get you the acting role so that you can be on that stage.
I know. It'll happen. It'll happen.
There's a lot of parties that happen on Oscar night.
Yeah.
So why come to the Elton John AIDS Foundation party?
I mean, I went last year to the dinner, and that was my first time ever going, and I just had such a good time. And then I heard Chapel was performing, and obviously I love Chapel, and I love Elton, and I love the foundation. I love what it does. You know, AIDS. You know, even though now we kind of got a whole, you know, we've got it a little more under control in the United States, it is still rampant in a lot of parts of the world. You know, it isn't like, oh, just because we're not dealing with the epidemic anymore doesn't mean that it's not still happening. So I just like totally love the work they're doing. It's so important.
And were you keeping up with the films and the ones that were nominated? And was there anything in particular you were really excited to see, or is there anyone that you're really happy to see win this evening?
Yeah, I mean, I love The Substance. I love Demi. I love Sing Sing. What a great film. Oh my God, and I love that they actually casted real, you know, ex-convicted prisoners and got them in the film. I feel like that's what like real support looks like, you know, real representation. That's how you uplift the community, you know.
It's also got a really interesting message about rehabilitation and what the arts can do. Do you think that we need to acknowledge a bit more the place that arts plays both in rehabilitation, education, but also in politics as well?
I think art is everything. I don't think people place enough importance in art. You know, looking at a piece of art can tell you exactly what the political climate was. If you're, you know, able to have critical thinking abilities, it's just so important. And I think, you know, what's happening in this country with a lot of our arts programs being stripped away, I think that is probably the first indicator of like a really bad thing is on the horizon. Just put it that way. Yeah, we're in for some dark times when art is now being championed and nurtured. It's really unfortunate.
Well, we have some good voices out there like yourself. Let's bring it up a bit. Is there anything you want to tell us about that you've got coming up or that you're up to at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, I'm doing so much. I have a lot of movies coming out, but I'm really most excited about my show that I'm developing with Joey Soloway, and we're writing the pilot now, and we're, working through the series, and, we're getting it going, and it's honestly the most fun I've had in so long. This is like all I've ever wanted to do is just write. That's my happy place.
And hopefully we'll see you on stage representing sex workers, accepting an Oscar too.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for talking to me.
Thank you so much.
Have an amazing night. Have fun. Bye-bye.
Sorry, can you tell me that one more time?
Oops. Where am I going?
Mansouri chatting there to Julia Fox, talking about, they were talking about sex workers quite a lot, weren't they? And they were obviously referenced during the show. Of course, Honora was the biggest sweep of the night, but both Sean Baker and Mikey Madsen, when they accepted their awards, both of them paid tribute to the sex workers, without whom they said they really couldn't have made the film.
Which they've done throughout the award season. So they did that also at the BAFTAs, and they make sure that if they're going to do a film on a community, they're going to honor them, and they're going to represent them, and they're going to say it in their speech. And I thought that was it's a really touching thing, because a lot of times when you do cover a story, you want to make sure that the people at the heart of it aren't affected or impacted in any negative way from it.
It really is the mirror image to a lot of the criticism that Emilia Perez suffered, that people were saying, actually, this is saying it's authentic and it's representing a marginalised community. Actually, it's really not. Whereas actually, if you look at Honora, quite interestingly, they very much did go up close and personal, spoke to the actual people involved, lap dancers, sex workers, and it really paid off in the film. I think that's why it's funny, gritty, touching. Also, I think sex workers were probably really pleased not to see themselves represented either as victims or just kind of like those kind of very tropey sex worker things. And it certainly wasn't Pretty Woman, was it? It had an edge, but a kind of real human edge. She just happened to be a sex worker.
Exactly, yeah. One of my favourite parts of the film as well is Mikey Madison spent nearly 6 months learning how to pole dance, and Sean Baker decided he actually didn't want it in the shot anymore after learning how to do it. So actually they made a compromise, and she's in it for I think 15 seconds of the film, that she was like, please, I've spent 6 months training for this. I've put so much hard work and dedication into it. Can I just have those few seconds? And actually it works so well in the shot.
I think I can remember, literally, I think I can remember the shot you're saying. And pole dancing, for anyone that has ever tried it was a bit of a craze. About 10 years ago, everyone was doing it for Keep Fit. It is really hard. You've got to have the upper body strength of a kind of like a weightlifter.
Rock hard abs. Yeah. That's what you need for that.
Well, do you know what? It paid off, because she took Best Actress, didn't she? And we love that at the Oscars. We love it to kind of be a journey, a story, a transformation. And I think that's why Timothée Chalamet was getting quite a lot of attention, because everyone was saying, he spent 5.5 years learning the guitar, perfecting the accent, perfecting his singing, the harmonica. Yes, fair play, but Mikey Madsen learned Russian and how to basically dance in that way, which is a whole skill set. It really is.
Exactly. I think it all just depends on the judges on the day as well, because the categories are divided up. You're not going to know who is going to be favourable to you on that day. Like that, when I watched Bob Dylan's the Bob Dylan biopic, it did stand out to me of the 5 years that he spent perfecting it, and you can really tell in it that I do wish he did get some sort of recognition, but I understand why he didn't get the Oscar win either.
Oh, well, he had Kylie Jenner on his arm, didn't he? And he got some gags, and everyone loved his yellow suit. So he wasn't ignored. And the way the Oscars work, next year or in a year or two, he will get awarded. It will be for another film, but in the back of everyone's minds, they'll be thinking of this. Often it's a kind of retrospective Oscar. We all know the way awards work. It's not necessarily the best actor or even the best film that wins. Normally, all the films that are nominated are worthy nominees. As to whether the right ones win on the day, I think it's all down to timing, personally. The campaign, the timing, when your film comes out, the buzz, what's going on. Because I'm so glad I'm still here. The Portuguese language film, I am so glad that took one prize. It took international feature, didn't it? But it was also up for Best Actress and Best Picture, which was quite a surprise. But there was a moment when everyone thought that could actually maybe swoop in and get Best Picture, because everyone had watched it last minute, so it was fresh in everyone's minds.
And also deservedly so. Like that performance by Fernando Torres is stunning. When you watch it, you're just taken aback. And like what you were saying about Emilia Perez, this is taking on a real moment in Brazil, in 1970s Brazil, dealing with a dictatorship and telling the story of a real family and doing it with such heart. It was a beautiful performance to watch, and really touching as well, with the end credits showing all of the real people behind the story.
I watched the end of that film this morning, so I spent a lot of today crying.
Yeah.
Not a very sensible move, but it was such a moving film, and I thought there were several parts in it that really reminded me of previous Oscar winners. There were moments when I was transported to Moonlight. There was moments when I was back in Roma with that feel of a family and a house and a buzz.
Yeah.
And as you said, it was this big story of obviously a military dictatorship in the 70s in Brazil, massive story. But it was really shown through the lens of this family, this mother, this father, these 5 children. And it was so beautifully told that at no point were you kind of thinking of this bigger picture, which your brain can't really deal with. It was a family story, and absolutely Fernando Torres, as an actress that probably a lot of people in the UK and certainly in America really hadn't heard of her a month ago. She is now someone that I think most people who are into their films are going to know and know her work. And she was... I mean, it's a fantastic performance and definitely a film worth watching.
Definitely, because even when you're watching that film, it's one of the few of the entire award season that did really depict the trials and tribulations of being a mother and having to deal with, okay, I might be going through something in my life, but my children are here and I can't let them see that I'm suffering or that I'm struggling right now. And she... oh my God, the way that she was able to put that across on screen, I really thought that she was going to get the Best Actress nod just for that.
Yeah. Oh, don't, Debbie. You'll start me off.
I know.
But honestly, just a fantastic performance. And definitely, on paper, you're like, oh, do I really want to watch a film about a military dictatorship in the 70s? Life's a bit depressing at the moment. Do I want to watch that? But it's a really heartwarming film, isn't it? And beautifully told. And I didn't really realise, but the character within the film that is the son, it's based on his book. It's a memoir. I was like, oh, okay, no, it all makes sense. This is beautiful. But yeah, it was probably a bit of a push for it to take Best Picture. It would have been quite a Parasite-like coup, wouldn't it, if an international film, sort of the unknown, the unexpected one to be in that list of 10 for the Best Picture had suddenly swooped in and got it. That was probably a bit of a push. But it getting international felt like a really worthy winner.
I think we are starting to see a real shift as well in the last few years of not just because it's an English language film doesn't mean it's going to win anymore. Yeah. And seeing Emilia Perez get the recognition that it does, I know a lot of people had a lot of negative reviews on this film, but also, I can say, Zoe Saldana's performance in it is just breathtaking, that you go, she's worth watching the film entirely. Then you get to see I'm Still Here with Fernando Torres. We get to see Flow as well, the animated film. It's just getting to see films that are not predominantly an English language film is great to see at the Oscar level.
There was some real creative thinking, I think, behind some of the prizes there. Now, let's have a look back on the Vanity Fair red carpet. I can see Katie standing there for us, poised and ready. Katie, what's happening on the red carpet at the moment? I can see people looking fabulous and queuing behind you.
Ladies, I'm terribly sorry to inform you of this, but you've just missed Timothée Chalamet, who has gone inside. I know, I'm so sorry. It's just literally by about 30 seconds as well. We'll get Chris, the cameraman, to show you what's happening in front of where all the photographers are. A mere few seconds ago, little Timmy, is that patronising enough? Timmy was on the red carpet, not even a red carpet, I'm going mad, grey and yellow striped carpet here at Vanity Fair. Should we talk about the fact, I know it's sort of a bit 50s, do we think? Sort of kind of beachy. But anyway, back to Timmy. What do we think of the fact that A Complete Unknown didn't do very well, did it? Did it get any awards tonight? What was the tally for that one?
It did not get any tonight. So A Complete Unknown. It went into the night with 8 nominations and didn't take a single one. That's the way the Oscars roll, though, isn't it? Because Emilia Perez went in with 13 and only took 2. You just don't know who's going to come out with a bevy, and it's very rarely the film that goes in with the most.
Yeah, but I get at the same time.
You absolutely do not know. You can see why Timmy would want to be going into the party and having himself a stiff drink after a night like that. I mean, you spend 5 years learning how to play the guitar and sound like Bob Dylan, and you don't even get one award. It's an outrage.
It must feel doubly as bad, actually. You feel doubly rejected because you had 2 tickets in this lottery, didn't you? Not just one, like everyone else.
Life skills, though. I mean, Timmy from now on can bust out some Bob Dylan whenever he's at a party. I'm just trying to see if I can find you any good celebrities here to show off about who's going past us. Is it? Where? Oh. Doja Cat in the gold?
Yeah, there she is.
I see you're cooler than me, Debbie. I'm not across music. There you go. This is why I needed you here, Debbie. Yes, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, as you might remember, it may look like they're very close to us, these stars, but there is a magic invisible wall between us and them, and they do a very good job of ignoring us as they're waiting in this traffic jam of celebrities for their photos. So it's actually harder than you might think to actually get one of these celebrities to kind of stop and talk to you. They talk if they want to talk. Doja Cat is going in.
Is it just one lane there at Vanity Fair? Because in the actual Oscars pre-red carpet, there's literally several lanes of celebrities, isn't there? There, have you just got the one lane and the queue, basically?
It's just one very long lane, yeah. And I mean, even Kim Kardashian was having to join the back of the queue to go into the party. Only person that we've managed to see queue jump so far, as I said a little bit earlier, Jeff Bezos. Bethany, cue your Amazon Prime joke.
It's so good I can do it twice. I don't think so. Buy one, get one free.
Yeah, I think it does.
You've got a couple of famous faces behind you. I think I see Millie Bobby Brown behind you as well as...
Shall I just get out of the way?
Well, she is working it. So
Millie Bobby Brown?
Yeah, working the carpet yesterday, presenting prizes. What's going on? Where's
Is that Monica Barbaro?
No, that's
No, it's not, is it? Oh, Debbie, you're like a professional paparazzi, you are.
Her dress is looking a little bit like Cynthia Erivo at the Grammys. It's got that kind of screen at the front. That's a bit of a thing this year, isn't it? As is the black sheer.
Who is this designer that's... Have you seen Kim Kardashian's outfit as well? Everyone's got these massive structural outfits. Like Ariana Grande, you could put a pint on her skirt, couldn't you? It was like a sort of walking coffee table.
Actually,
Kim Kardashian, very similar.
Lampshady, kind of quite lampshady.
As well, Cynthia Erivo as well. Lampshady, well, with Ariana Grande's one in particular, a little bit sort of like a toilet roll holder as well, dare we say, like your granny would have had over their toilet rolls. Oh, do you know what? We need some more Oscar winners.
Katie, if you're looking for some Eurovision entries, there's Damiano from Maneskin is right behind you with his girlfriend.
In the black.
In the all black.
I mean, Debbie, how do you even know that? We need to swap places, don't we?
Chronically online, that's what it is.
You can tell they're rock stars.
Shall we, before you...
gestures and the kind of like moody faces. They look really unpleased to be there, but I'm sure inside they're dead excited.
Before you leave us, because I've got to go and do some TV in a minute, should we have a very slow pan along the queue, just so we can have a little gawp at some of the outfits and who's here? I mean, this is down to you girls. I am not immediately seeing anyone from any of the films that we've seen recently, but I can tell you inside you got some good people. We've already had Cynthia Erivo go past us. We had Ray Fiennes. I wonder who's... I mean, it does make you think. You can't imagine who's sort of making small talk with who. Ray Fiennes with Kim Kardashian? Who knows? Anyway, look, we've got to go and... sadly, we have to go and leave you to do some TV, but we will come back to you very shortly on the live stream. Have fun, girls.
Presently, thank you so much, Katie. Working the red carpet there. The yellow and weird coloured carpet.
Well, speaking of which, it just clicked in my head. It is the exact same colour palette as Anna Kendrick's directorial debut, Woman of the Hour.
Do you think that's what they've gone for?
No, I mean the 70s vibe, and I was like, I've seen those colours together. Do you know the film where the TV show of it's a serial killer ends up in a dating show? That is
based
the
on a real life story. Yeah. And that is crazy. I mean, to be fair, the Oscars do always do some really weird things because their green room apparently this year, their Rolex green room, of course. I don't know if Katie's allowed in. I've asked her to try to sneak in. The theme is Patagonian animals.
Of course.
Why the dickens? I just don't know. I suppose why not? I mean, I don't know in what way. Is there wallpaper with animals on? I just don't know. But I mean, they really go for it. They come up with a theme and it has no relevance to anything else, but they just go with it.
And I think as well, don't they? They take phones off people as well. They ask for no photos, but
good luck with that with Kim Kardashian.
Exactly. By the early hours, every single phone is out, no matter what.
I mean, if you're there and you don't take photos and put them on Instagram or TikTok, were you really there? I don't know. It's a bit weird.
As a chronically online person, I hope that they get their phone out.
What's the point in that? Well, actually, one of the films, one of the shorts, actually, it was like based on AI and a kind of identity crisis. Is it I'm Not a Robot? I can't remember the exact title, but it's literally based on the whole idea of someone, I guess, failing the CAPTCHA test or whatever it is, and you're like, am I real? Am I a real person? Is the world real? It's because obviously AI was something we were all talking about a little bit going into this. There was a few. I mean, scandal is probably a bit of a strong word, particularly because bigger scandals then took our attention. But at one point, people were talking about the use of AI in Emilia Perez, in The Brutalist. And it got a little bit controversial, didn't it? Talking about actors' performances and if they had been tweaked, particularly with voice altering software.
Yeah, it was the Hungarian dialogue in The Brutalist. So Adrian Brody's accent in The Brutalist, when he's speaking Hungarian, that was altered slightly with AI, which actually did raise a couple of eyebrows of saying, is he going to get that Best Actor nod? Because if you think about it, as an actor, one of the things that you would consider is, did you get your dialogue properly? Is the accent the best accent you could do? And using AI to perfect it does kind of raise some questions of what does the future look like for the Academy? Are they going to have to put in a couple of terms and conditions about AI? Is there a certain percentage that they can use to perfect dialogue? What is the future, really?
I mean, it's fascinating because that was one of the big points when the actors' strikes, of course, were going on in the US, which affected the globe. It wasn't just the US, it affected the whole acting industry. But that was one of the big points that the actors and the writers were negotiating around, kind of security and protection against AI. Basically, the creative industries are particularly vulnerable and worried to having their work pillaged and then their work taken and AI doing it all. So the fact that kind of bled into this year's Oscars, I think for the first time I think there's been discussion before, but I felt like this was the first year it was a real discussion and lines started to be drawn. And I think you're right. I think the Academy will have to put in place very clear rules about usage and amounts and what can and can't be done and what's acceptable and what not. And the problem is, I think we're still deciding, aren't we, actually? We're not quite sure how much is acceptable.
I think it's as well because the word AI is thrown out so much that it's a blanket thing that you're saying, well, there's different genres of AI. There's different parts of it that can be used. Their worry is, okay, does it mean that we're going to clone my voice and then I don't have a use anymore? Or if
Steal
there's
it. Literally, it's stealing your product.
Yeah. And like as an author, if you're writing a screenplay, what if I write 3 screenplays and then the computer does the rest? And so that's what the worry is. But then, like those little moments of a tiny bit of dialogue, when is a small bit enough or when is it too much? That's the real question. I actually spoke with John Magaro, who stars in September 5th. So that was up for an Oscar for, I think it was adapted screenplay.
Yes, that was the only one it got up for in the end, wasn't it?
Yeah. And I asked him about AI because it was just as The Brutalist and Emilia Perez was breaking about, okay, they've used AI in it. And he actually said, for himself, he doesn't really see a path for future actors. He doesn't know. He was saying, I actually am worried for the people that are up and coming right now of will they have a job in a few years? And that is just the stress of it because there's so many question marks. We don't know what's going to happen just yet.
What we should do is we should ask ChatGPT. I'm sure it would tell us. It's interesting. Heretic. Sorry, I can't say that word. That's what I've discovered this season. That's been my self-discovery. Starring Hugh Grant. It wasn't actually up for any Oscars. Sadly, it was up for a BAFTA, which it didn't take. But they actually put out a cheeky kind of bit of their campaign was saying there was no use of AI in this horror film whatsoever, because I guess they were just jumping on board because so many films found themselves having to kind of defend themselves against the use of AI. It's a fascinating, and it's only a discussion that is just going to carry on and on and on, isn't it? Wicked. We've got to talk about Wicked. A few months ago, I think we were all kind of thinking, oh, Wicked's going to be a big deal. It's going to take a lot of prizes. It went into the night with 10 nominations. Only took 2. Are we surprised? I can't decide what I feel like. I almost didn't expect it to win anything, but at the same time, it's been very popular, hasn't it?
I'll be honest, I think I wanted Cynthia and Ariana to get the recognition that they thoroughly deserve, but I think what happened is we all know Cynthia Erivo is one of the most talented human beings that is on this planet, and I think that has been the problem for her, because everyone knew she was talented, because everyone knew she could sing, act, dance, move, do anything you could think on screen. When she actually got to this role of Elphaba, they said she's going to be perfect at it. So what do we expect? We only expect perfection, which is really hard to go, how can you improve on perfection? And I think that's why her name wasn't one of those big names in the nominations this year. She got the nomination, but I think her own talent and success was the thing that hindered it, which is heartbreaking to think.
How typical, particularly for an actress. I feel like that's something that we really we keep for our female performers in particular. Also, I think Wicked maybe suffered from being one of 2. We know there's another part to come. So in your head, you're sort of thinking, oh, but there's more. And I think I'm right in saying, based on the musical, that perhaps Ariana Grande has had maybe her meatiest parts, and Cynthia has her meatiest parts yet to come in the next film. So maybe she will get rewarded next year, perhaps. But it's a funny one when it's any kind of part 2, part 1, you're sort of like, oh yeah, there's more coming. I mean, but saying that, Dune part 2, it got 2 awards, didn't it? Today it was up for 5, but it took 2, and they were, as we've said, in the technical areas of sound and visual effects. A lot of people liked it, but I think we knew there was no way that was going to get this picture, for example.
Maybe it is that they're waiting for Wicked for Good to be their big Oscar push, because I know what they've decided to do is put original songs in the second film, and so now they can enter those extra categories. They can enter the original score, enter original song, and it's Cynthia Erivo's voice bringing that original song.
Yeah. Oh, hang on. I can see we have young Jason there for us live on the Elton John red carpet. Jason, looking absolutely fabulous in your bow tie and your suit.
I love it.
You are giving those celebrities a run for their money. Tell us, what's the buzz, what's the vibe like on the Elton John red carpet?
It's been pretty fun, actually. We had Megan Thee Stallion. We chatted to Diplo. Diplo picked up, I don't know if people know, and when you do these red carpets, I'm going to show you, they have these cheat sheets which tell you who's coming to the party. And he picked it up and started going through it, telling us everyone he wanted to work with, and everyone he thought was rather attractive as well, which I thought was interesting. And at the time, Chappell Roan was performing on stage, and he said that it was his dream to produce or work with her, and said if only she would answer his text messages, which I thought was quite interesting. I think you saw earlier we spoke to Julia Fox, and she was really very proud of Anora, of course, because particularly, she's been very open about this and talked about the fact that she was a sex worker before and how important it is to have that representation on screen as well. But I wanted to talk to you guys about the ceremony tonight and start off, I will add, about the things that I liked. One of those being especially was the Quincy Jones tribute. I thought it was incredible to see Whoopi Goldberg and Oprah Winfrey come out together. And Whoopi Goldberg, did anyone else see the liquid blue Christian Siriano dress she was wearing? It was absolutely incredible. I hope that's on all of... absolutely beautiful, an incredible dress. But it took me a minute to compute why we'd have Oprah and Whoopi Goldberg doing that together. Of course, because they were both in the color purple. Whoopi Goldberg winning an Oscar, I think it was for Best Actress, and Oprah Winfrey getting nominated. And of course, Quincy Jones produced that and also did the music on that. And then going into the Queen Latifah doing the song from The Wiz, which is one of my favorite films. Not a commercial success, we should add, when it came out, but Quincy Jones sort of reimagining of The Wizard of Oz for black audiences, and her doing the Walk on Down the Yellow Brick Road, I thought was amazing. But what I thought was a bit interesting, I'm going to say interesting, was the sort of the James Bond tribute.
Yes, it was
considering
long,
that we've just had the news that both, yeah, it didn't make sense because, Barbara Broccoli and Michael Wilson have just essentially sold off their creative control of this franchise to Amazon. And then we kind of had Lisa from Blackpink singing for a bit. Yeah, it was just very, very strange. But I thought, I do want to give props to Doja Cat and to Ray as well. I thought they were brilliant. But I am really curious. Did you guys not think that was a little bit off and a little bit strange?
We thought at one point, I wondered if I had gone to sleep and missed some of the awards. It went on for so long. And then I thought, oh my goodness, of course, they're going to be announcing who the next Bond is. That must be why we're having minutes and minutes and minutes and minutes of this epic Bond tribute. But no, it literally just was that, it appears.
Do you think that maybe in the background we might have been getting a Bond, but it might have fallen through or something last minute, and they went, well, we've got this 3.5 minute segment, just do it, get on with it, just do it. Let's just dedicate it to Barbara Broccoli now.
I love that. Well, speaking of 3.5 minutes, Adrian Brody's speech, guys, that was long. Am I right that it's meant to be about 45 seconds for a speech everyone's allotted, and he turned out to be a bit over 3.5 minutes? What did you think of that? I thought what he ended on about not letting hate win. I think I'm paraphrasing possibly incorrectly there. I thought it was nice.
Anti-Semitism, standing up to anti-Semitism, and also he gave a lovely tribute to his partner Georgina Chapman, saying how she had reinvigorated him and kind of given him self-value back, basically. That was very touching, but I don't think he needed 5.5+ minutes to say it.
I think the emotions got in the way because halfway through he was probably going, oh, wait a minute, this is 13 years or however long since my last Oscar win. And maybe he had a train of thought, lost it, and didn't realise he was speaking for so long.
I think you're very generous, Debbie. I think he
I think you're being very generous with that as well.
I
also the bit where he shut down the orchestra and said, I've been here before. I mean, and the other thing you have to account for is that these things are timed, and the more time you take is less that someone else has. And I don't want to take away from his win. Great, congratulations, well done. But I really didn't. That really did jar with me, I thought, interestingly. But what an amazing night. We were all sitting here on the red carpet. Or the white carpet, rather, I should say, here at the Elton John AIDS Foundation after party. Yeah, it is all very, very, very white. And also, I saw a lot of white sequin dresses earlier on as well, although luckily we've got some colour coming through now. But what was really exciting and sort of all the you don't want to see. I spilt a crisp packet on the floor and almost got told off for that one.
Cannot take you anywhere, Jason. You go to LA, you dirty the carpet. What are they going to think?
I know, I'm terrible. But curious to know you guys, we were sitting here and it was really exciting for everyone to see the surprises and the twists and turns, whether that be Mikey Madison, winning Best Actress, for example. I mean, these things it was so exciting and so rare, and I think in the few years that have gone past, it's been very predictable. We sort of knew what was going to sweep the floor. We kind of have a very strong idea, but, Demi Moore won the Screen Actors Guild, so we thought that was a given. I didn't think Nora was going to walk away with 5 Oscars. I mean, it was really, everyone was just shocked and exciting. Was it the same for you guys back there in London?
I think it's fair to say it was. I mean, some of the stalwarts took the prizes we were expecting. I think the biggest intake of breath was the Mikey Madison win, as you say. That moment, we all kind of went, oh, hello, something's a bit different here. And then almost from that moment, I think we felt like it was already going Honora's way, but then it felt like it winning Best Picture was the right thing. Obviously, Sean Baker had already taken Best Director. It kind of felt like, okay, the temperature of this is Honora is storming it, they're taking 5. It really felt like a lovely moment, actually, and I think it was the right decision, all in all. But I'm sad for Demi, because I think we expected her to take it.
Also an incredibly well-deserved one. I mean, there's some really interesting things. It is an independent film. It's got that young sort of punk rebellious spirit to it. I mean, it was shot on 35mm film. It has these, incredible, lovely tracking shots and these different climates that it's done. That whole fight scene that sort of all centers on that one room and is such a huge part of the film. I mean, it's incredible filmmaking that I always thought from the beginning that the Academy would really appreciate and would warm to, because if you want to say for insider baseball, for those sort of in the industry, it is kind of that lush, wonderful project shot on film with these incredible shots and great performances and very, very low budget as well, in considering some of the films that were up for nomination.
£6 million off the top of my head. And then you compare that to The Brutalist, which was $10 million. Sorry, not pounds, dollars, of course. Brutalist was $10 million, which sounds like a lot, but it's really not at all. When you think about something like Wicked, was about 14 times that, about $140 million. So when you compare that, it really does put it into perspective. You're so right. Honora, it's by Neon, it's by an indie company. Tonight was really a triumph, I think, for independent film, as well as a lot of the people up there taking prizes.
Absolutely. Tonight was the night for independent film.
Yeah, getting bums on seats in the cinema, going back in, having an event and celebrating filmmakers and actors, but also celebrating the actual cinema, the filmmaking industry. It was quite a beautiful night, really well put together, I thought, that went with the acting wins. So clearly people's voting is with the mood that we saw tonight.
Well, I think even with Emilia Perez taking home a lot of prizes, what you saw, well, to me, and this is purely conjecture and an opinion, is that I think the idea of risk-taking, being original and being a new voice was really, really rewarded. Whereas I think in the past, a lot of the time, the films that have done very well have been sort of biopics, rather than these sort of like new storytellers. And I think that was really amazing to see. But I really wanted to sort of go back to Paul Tazwell, who did win costume for Wicked. I thought that was amazing to see, because there is so much detail that went into Wicked. And I remember in an interview, Cynthia Erivo talking about the particulars of the braids that she has in her hair, for example. There were so many small details that went into that I think made that a really, truly deserved win, because it wasn't just the fantasticness and the really headline-grabbing kind of costumes that you saw there. It was the subtleties that I think were definitely awarded in that film.
Yeah, it wasn't about it just being extravagant costumes. It was about the thought and the decisions behind them as well. Because even with Cynthia Erivo's dress in the final scene, that all of, if you actually look in closely, the lyrics to the song are actually sewn onto the garment, which is, it's such a beautiful thing that they just put every single bit of their heart into it.
And of course, first black man to ever take
Debbie,
that
you
prize.
say it so much better than me. That's exactly what I meant to say.
Look at this. I love this. I love this on the red carpet. Look at people meeting and greeting next to you, Jason. People are like kind of making their contacts, giving out. I hope you've taken your cards, Jason. Are you giving them out? Are you doing some networking?
Have I taken
while you're there? Are you giving your cards out?
I have.
Your digital card. You're in LA,
No,
darling.
if I'm really honest, I think more than anything, I've been getting lost in like Anwar Hadid's eyes and Julia Fox talking about sort of sex workers and politics and so all these things. I get quite overwhelmed, and because tonight for some reason there does seem to be less of a rush, and the people that have spoken to us have really sort of taken their time. And then Diplo sort of like coming up close and grabbing the sheet and talking through it. It's just been a very surreal carpet to work on and to talk to people. So it's been less about networking for me and me trying to not really kind of not fan out, but like I've had these conversations with people and I'm thinking, let's go for a drink. Like, I mean, you're amazing. Or let's change numbers. Whatever. Obviously, it's never going to happen.
Jason, I'm intrigued. As somebody who was there in LA at the event, what speech really hit for you? Because I think for us watching, I don't know, tell me if you disagree, Debbie.
Zoe Saldana.
Really?
Zoe Saldana.
Very emotional, and the tears, and obviously calling out to her mama in the audience and her family. What about Kieran Culkin? Because he went for a classic funny Culkin speech, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. I mean, I love Kieran Culkin, but I mean, I think realistically, even in regards to emotion, I don't remember it was Ke Huy Quan when he won, and he talked about him being the American dream because he was a first-generation immigrant. You know, dreams can come true, and then seeing Zoe Saldana sort of talk about the fact that she's the first person of Dominican origin to win, and also just the real outpouring of love for family and for her parents, and particularly the women, grandmother, mother. I'm from a matriarchal family, so that really, really, really resonates with me, and I believe every single word that she had to say with it. And also, you know, if you think about the climate in which she's living in at the moment in America as a woman of Dominican heritage, you know, it is a very poignant and quite a political, but not in a very aggressive way, political speech to make. So I think it had everything in it: family, love, celebrating the women in her family, and a bit of politics as well. And of course, as always, as we saw at the BAFTAs as well, thanking her husband and mentioning his beautiful, beautiful hair.
He did have very, very beautiful hair. Jason, we are going to let you carry on capturing the celebrities on the red carpet. We are going to dip into Katie Spencer at the Vanity Fair red carpet and see if she has captured anyone for us. Katie, how's it going? Are people getting in? Is the queue moving?
The queue is getting longer and longer by the minute. Look, I can tell you, we have a Culkin in the house. Of course, Kieran Culkin won Best Supporting Actress, and he's an actor. We don't have Kieran Culkin. We've got Macaulay Culkin, though. We'll get the cameraman Chris to pan over this way. His brother's shown up. Look at that grand hand gesture he's giving. I think that the Culkins are a fun family, aren't they? You want to spend Christmas with the Culkins, don't you?
His wife Brenda Song, who was actually in The Last Showgirl with Pamela Anderson.
And actually, look, they've been in the traffic jam, the celebrity traffic jam, next to Lindsay Lohan. So it's a bit of a sort of blast from the past. Macaulay Culkin hanging out with Lindsay Lohan. I know, what's happening here in the celebrity traffic jam? I'm just trying to have a look around. Do you know what? There's those that respect the queue system, and there's those that try and queue jump. And we've had another set of queue jumpers. Should we name and shame? Oh, Demi Moore, hang on. Oh, look at this. The lovely Demi Moore is about to go past us.
She does look like she is
fantastic gold dress.
Straight through, and understandably so, in her beautiful gold dress there. And look at a lot of people in her wind trying to get.
Should we go this way?
Is she just storming?
You know what, as well? Even if they want to go home because they haven't won, they all have designer dress commitments, so invariably you'll find a lot of the ladies have to come because they're in a completely different outfit and they need a different set of photos in order to fulfill some of their designer obligations. So I wonder whether, because we're seeing a bit of a costume change.
I'm sorry,
I do.
Fantastic dress and go and eat some lovely food and drink some beautiful drink. I'm sorry, it's just what I have to do.
Exactly.
Well, I mean, obviously she must be feeling devastated, but she also looks amazing.
I know, but Mikey Madison, it was a great performance. Now, I was just about to name and shame about the queue jumpers, though, because actually, as well as Jeff Bezos cutting the queue, we just had a lot of the cast members of The Brutalist, not Adrian Brody, but we had Felicity Jones, we had director Brady Corbet, disrespecting the line. Everyone else was queuing up. It went straight in front, posed for pictures, straight into the party. So I think they're needing a drink after it just being sort of Adrian Brody's night. Oh, that's a fantastic dress for Demi Moore. Should we have another quick shot of her posing for photographers? Yeah, more and more people are turning up.
Yes, that's her daughter, one of her daughters.
It's a family affair, the Culkins and the the Willis family.
I can remember writing an article last year about people that brought their families along, and it's always fun, isn't it, to see their grandmas and their brothers. And Mikey Madison, in part of her tribute, she spoke about her twin brother, and I didn't know she had a twin brother, and I do like that kind of fact about somebody. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if he's an actor.
Imagine being Mikey Madison's twin.
Yeah.
I think that's something that we all need to do our research after this. Do you know who I saw in the queue a little while ago? Diane Warren, the songwriter, who has been nominated 16 times. Everyone was saying, oh, maybe this will be Diane's year. She didn't win again.
Katie, did she have a smile on her face? What did she look sad? Was she just inscrutable? I mean, I don't know what I'd do with my face after the 16th time. I think I would just be visibly cross.
She wasn't visibly cross. There was a somewhat sad shrug,
Defeated.
I would say. But it certainly wasn't. She's not processed it at the acceptance stage, I'd say. It was more sort of sad and I think in need of certainly a glass of champagne, I'd say.
Well, you know what they say, 17th time's the charm.
God, do they? Let's hope so. Let's give you another very slow pan along the celebrity traffic jam so you can have a look. Oh, do you know what? A weird pairing who aren't here now at the moment. Sacha Baron Cohen and supermodel Helena Christensen arrived together.
Who? Which supermodel?
Are they friends? Helena Christensen.
Oh, I was not aware of that friendship, but maybe so.
I don't know if that's a friendship that has just occurred within the celebrity traffic jam or whether that's something that's, a new blossoming friendship. We will no doubt have to try and make our way inside and get a bit of gossip for you. But I know you guys are going to do a bit more dissecting of some of the nominees, so we will leave you to it and cross back to us in a little while, and we'll try and have some more celebrities for you.
Brilliant, Katie. Thank you so much. And we've got close-ups there of Amelia de Goldenberg. Chicken burger interview.
Chicken shop.
I'm just hungry. I don't. Is it time for chicken? Yeah. Is it too early? Is that acceptable at 10 to 7 in the morning? I've lost track of all sense.
And we did see our Ray as well. She was obviously nominated and won R&B Act as well yesterday at the Brits, but was a bit busy because she was performing at the Oscars. So there she is in the queue as well, just a little bit further back, where she's getting ready to get her photo taken.
She put a lovely post out earlier this evening, kind of looking back and saying, a year ago I wasn't doing very much, and look at me now. I'm literally performing at the Brits, winning the Brits, here at the Oscars. I mean, it just shows, doesn't it, how fate is literally, it's a wheel of fate, isn't it? You're on it, maybe you're up, maybe you're down, but there's always something that can change, and you just got to keep going and follow your art and your passion, really.
And I think as well, what's so lovely is when we're talking about Ray as an independent artist, and now we're seeing at the Oscars an independent film, and Sean Baker has been flying that flag as an independent filmmaker for so long now that he's really passionate about making sure that art stays with the artist and it doesn't belong to the big studios that may give a little bit of money, but then they take the freedom away, in his opinion, as well sometimes.
And give zero support.
Exactly,
literally.
yeah. And so it is great for him to have that platform multiple times tonight to say, you know what, first of all, if you can, go to the cinema, and second of all, support independent films.
Look, there's Ray. We're getting a lovely close-up of her now, looking utterly gorgeous. I don't know about you. I know we had a little moan about it earlier, the James Bond section of the evening, which maybe wasn't all to quite all of our tastes. But I kind of felt also like it was a little bit of an audition. I suddenly thought, oh, I can see Ray doing a Bond song. I thought they all nailed it, actually. None of the Bond songs are easy, are they? They're all kind of testing. And I thought everybody up there doing the songs. I thought Lisa was great from Blackpink. I really enjoyed her performance. I thought everyone performed it really well, despite feeling like it was a very long section, and I could have done without it, if I'm honest.
And Ray taking on Adele Skyfall, that is a tough task to do. But I really thought as well, when I was watching that segment, in my mind, if Jimmy Kimmel was actually presenting this, he 100% would have gone to the audience and done some like kind of skit of going to random audience members being like, are you the next Bond? Are you the next Bond? I feel like that would have been the vibe, but Conan, not so much.
He had too much original material to be cracking through. Yeah.
He's like, this is my time to shine.
Yeah. and boy, did he shine. I mean, definitely, he's won a fan in me tonight. I went into it not being particularly excited it was him, and actually came out of it thinking, he was really good. I found him very entertaining. the right level of warmth for me. He was rude enough that it was funny and a kind of a bit edgy, but he also, I'm not very into humour that makes people super uncomfortable. So I thought he gauged it really beautifully for the audience. Let's face it, it's the Academy Awards. They're all sort of important, shiny people. You've got to gauge it right. It's a family event, I'd say. Although there were a few swears. Kieran Culkin let rip, didn't he? Got a bit overexcited, I think, when he was praising Jeremy Strong.
Yeah, pretty much. I think every single award speech he has done, he has accidentally cursed. And it's kind of a testament to who he is as a person, is that he's just so naturally involved in the film industry that it's just second nature when he gets up onto a stage, that it didn't click with him that, I have a microphone in front of me. Oh, I'm on camera right now. I'm on television where maybe I shouldn't curse. It's because this is the life he has lived since he was born, basically.
It's very public, isn't it? I mean, he was also announced that they are now going to be trying for their fourth baby. Literally.
Third and fourth, yeah.
Oh, God, two to catch up. Twins, maybe, with that two for the price of one. I mean, it's brilliant, isn't it? You got to love that. Hang on, we've got Jason back on the the white carpet. Jason, what's happening? People are buzzing in.
I don't know. Can you hear that in the background? The dance music,
boom,
the party
boom,
is
as the
full
disco
swing.
started.
Yeah, the disco. Bethany Manel, who calls it a disco anymore? The club has started.
That's what he calls it. It's the Sir Elton disco, right?
No, that's fair. That's fair. Look, we had Chapel Roan performing before, and it was quite funny to see, when Pink Pony Club came on, this sort of the whole row of all the press and journalists all dancing together. Of course, my favourite song, "Good Luck Babe," was my moment to have a little boogie, and I may share that video with you later on. But I wanted to talk about some of the big names that we had come through. We spoke to Paris Jackson, Michael Jackson's daughter, which was a fascinating conversation because she has a new album coming out, and she actually gave us an insight into lyrics from one of the songs that haven't been released yet. Now, I didn't write them down and I can't remember them, but I did want to say that we got that little bit of intel, which I thought was pretty damn impressive. We also spoke to Liz Hurley. She was here with her son as well. It was his second, even though David Furnish... even though David Furnish and Elton John are his godfathers, he said it's only the second one he's been to because he's only just, recently become old enough to actually visit them, which I thought was quite interesting as well. But I wanted to talk a little bit more about the ceremony tonight, a couple of things that I really liked. Nick Offerman doing the announcements, I thought was really quite interesting.
He was great, and we got to see him as well, didn't we?
The backstage, and that's the bit that really shocked me, and that's the only reason why I knew. And then obviously at the very end you saw his names in the credits as well. But I also thought Mick Jagger was quite good. the Jagger swagger came in. He was very funny. He told a good joke, and of course it was also
Jack
amazing
Sparrow,
to see El Mel.
He was really playing up to
and
the
he was
fact
looking
he was a
amazing
British
as well.
rocker, and I think he was playing up to that beautifully.
Rocker.
And joking that obviously it was because Bob Dylan had turned it down. But I wonder if that really is true, because they'd said early on in the night, hadn't they? Bob Dylan really wanted to be here, but not that much. He wasn't rocking up. Did he know they weren't getting any Oscars?
The bit that I really want to know. Did anyone fact check whether or not he is actually younger than Bob Dylan or not? That was the bit that I thought maybe isn't quite the truth.
Maybe he's being very cheeky.
I do want to check that one, but also, it was amazing to see. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But I did love it, the fact that obviously he's doing the best song, and El Mel for Emilia Perez, one of their Oscars won. What did you guys think of the choice?
Sorry, Jason, I was momentarily
Oscar
distracted. The
Best
very
song.
beautiful lady behind you was fanning out her skirt, her beautiful lime green skirt for a
Not hand
photo.
down.
But as she did so, she was really kind of like, yes, she looked like a lovely peacock. Airing her lovely long legs.
Should we just say hello? Shall we say hello?
She does look gorgeous.
Do you want to say hello? We're currently live now on the live stream. Hello. Do you want to Do you want to introduce yourself? Say we've got Debbie and Bethany in the studio. Do you want to say hello to them?
Yes. Hello, Debbie. Hey, Bethany. How are you?
You're looking absolutely beautiful.
All the way from South Africa in Hollywood. Just started a movie called, in a film, The Last Rangers. So we're nominated actually at the Oscars. So that's where we're from right now.
Ah, fantastic! That's amazing. How's the night been for you? Were you in the ceremony as well?
Yeah, because that film was nominated. So, and then a wonderful film also just won. Of course, there's a bit of a sting because we would love to win. but we did incredibly well.
And when it comes to some of the other films that won tonight, was there anything that you were really excited and happy to see win, or was there something you were really hoping would win and maybe didn't?
I think Anaja. I think I'm especially excited for the lead that got, well, I mean, she got nominated for the lead and she actually won.
Mikey Madison.
And so I think it's a wonderful in for her. I think she had a splendid night. I think the entire team actually had an incredible evening.
They won 5 Oscars. I think Sean Baker won 4 as well, technically as director, writer, and doing the editing. So it's quite incredible. Yeah. And then what's it like inside have you been inside the party already?
No, I haven't been inside. That's what we're excited to do. We're about to go in. But also, I mean, this is also my producer, Will.
Hello.
So,
so
it was quite an incredible one because it was the first time at the Oscars. It felt like a dream. Everything was just incredible.
Yeah.
Yes.
Tell me, what was it like for you to go to this? I'm assuming this is your first Oscars.
Yes, absolutely. Our film is called The Last Ranger. It's about rhino conservation and the fierce ranger women that are on the front lines protecting these majestic creatures. And it was great to get the film out there and get an audience to appreciate that, and an important issue that we should all pay attention to.
What do you think the role of art is, particularly in this situation, in this scenario we're talking about film, but is there a responsibility for film to speak to politics or not?
I like it too. I think it's an important, powerful medium, still the most important. You know, we have social media and gaming creeping in, but I'm still emotionally moved by film, and so I think it should be used for good things on the planet. So, yes.
Yeah. I absolutely agree, because I think it's a wonderful way of starting a conversation without being combative or people preaching to people, rather being inclusive and making people feel seen. So the role of art will always be fundamental.
Fantastic. Do you want to, before you go, tell us a bit more about the film and see if is there any way we can actually see it?
Yeah, you can watch it in theaters right now with the other live action shorts that are nominated. And you can also see it on manhattanshorts.tv. And we are also going to be in a streamer near you soon, so look out for The Last Ranger.
And is Cindy Lee someone who worked with you? Is she here? While we were doing the interview, I was trying to remember because I was introduced to her by a friend, and we were trying to get her on the program. So is she here tonight?
She's here tonight. Yeah.
Tell her Jason says hello. We've been in email chats, and we were trying to get you on Sky News, and look, it worked out.
It did.
Yeah.
We finally got here.
Thank you so much. Thank you to your dress. That's what helped with that as well. That was spotted. Lovely talking to you guys. Take care. Oh, how serendipitous is that? We'd actually been in email communication about trying to get their short film onto Sky News, and lo and behold, because you spotted that beautiful
world,
dress.
Isn't it? It literally, the fashion brought us together. Some people say fashion isn't important, but I say it brings people together. And talking of the fashion and that lady's utterly gorgeous lime green dress, can we just quickly discuss the fashion? I know film and art is much more important, but some of the looks tonight, some were such hits. You've already discussed Whoopi Goldberg's lovely dress. Somebody else on the chat is saying to us, Philip Holy saying he loved Whoopi's look. But he is questioning Ariana Grande's look. Now, I think that might be the one I earlier compared slightly to a kind of lampshade-like shape. I don't know if you've seen it, Jason. It's kind of a peach number. I don't know what you thought. I mean, attention-grabbing, definitely attention-grabbing.
I didn't mind it, to be honest with you. I thought it looked okay. I'm just trying to think back to what's the
like
fashion that I saw.
There's
been some looks here. Yeah. I felt like we were a little bit more at there was a bit of a London Fashion Week kind of vibe to the red carpet here. A lot of very out there looks that were interesting. Who did we see? I'm forgetting everything. I'm being put.
Julia Fox's outfit.
Julia Fox was amazing.
Windswept St. Trinian's was kind of the
look.
Well,
she's been really interesting because she's been talking a lot lately about this idea of dressing for men, and that for a long time that she did, and only in the last year or so that she's decided not to and really dress for herself and for other women, and has said that it's really empowering, really freeing. But I mean, to me, I couldn't tell the difference necessarily in that on who she was or wasn't dressing for. But she is pulling out looks all the time. Yeah, I thought it was absolutely amazing, and the hair look, everything was absolutely fantastic. Is there any other sort of fashion looks that you like? You know what my favorite is, as I've said, it's that Christian Siriano liquid dress that Whoopi Goldberg was wearing. I was just blown away by her tattoos. You could see, her hair up, and Whoopi, I'm going to say, like, when she's doing The View and those kind of things, is usually very casual, sneakers, more boots than heels, if you like, cardigans and shirts. And to see tonight, I thought it was a real transformation, a really risky, brave dress to wear, but absolutely stunning.
I thought Zoe Saldana's dress was very elegant, very demure, almost kind of like a retro, kind of Shakespearean, like looking back to it, like a kind of, a young Juliet. What did we think of Timothée Chalamet's yellow
just about
suit?
to bring that up.
I mean, I don't know if I've actually ever seen anyone in a yellow suit. I don't know what I thought. What did it look like in real life, Jason? Because here, when I saw it on the screen, I kind of thought, is that a creamy colour? And then no, it did appear to be yellow, didn't it?
Oh, you're going to have to ask the wonderful Katie Spencer about that, because she's at the Vanity Fair red carpet. I didn't. Timothée Chalamet hasn't so far as I know, come here. But what I will say is that mustards and let's say kind of slightly off-white suits have been really quite popular here. I think I've seen about 4 or 5 different guys in those kind of colours. So I don't know, it's maybe a bit of a step from yellow, but I can definitely see the mustard sort of theme coming through here for sure. And also, weirdly, a lot of white sequin dresses. And then also another thing that I noticed, I don't know if anyone heard this, is we had Dylan Mulvaney was doing In Style next to us and doing interviews, and the conversation is this weird thing that kept coming up, and they kept asking, what's your happiness level at? Have you guys heard of this before? Because everyone was asking each other, what's your happiness level at? And it's a thing that I hadn't encountered before. It was just a very strange sort of observation.
Well, Jason, I have to ask you, what is your happiness level at? That's I'm intrigued. What's it like on the Sir Elton red carpet? What level are you at?
My level is very high. I've had an absolutely wonderful evening. I've spoken to some incredible people. And as I said, I think I mentioned that I had conversations with people that were really quite interesting. I mean, I spoke to Anwar Hadid about the start of Ramadan and why it's good to observe and how it brings you closer to spirituality. There's been some really bizarre and wonderful conversations, including about the films. Julia Fox talking about how happy she is to see Nora sweep the Oscar nominations because of its representation of sex workers. I'm cold, I'll tell you that, but I am very happy, and it's been a wonderful evening, actually.
You don't look cold. That's the beauty of it, isn't it? Everyone's swanning past with their drinks. Jason, have you actually managed to have a drink? Have you had any sustenance tonight? Because the trouble is, when you're working these events, it's not glamorous in the least, is it? You've probably not eaten since breakfast time.
Oh. Let me tell you, it is really not that glamorous. For starters, this carpet, we got here at 1 p.m. It is now, I'm not even sure what the time, let me check the time, it's 1 p.m. local time. It is now 11 p.m. Local time, and we have not been allowed to leave pretty much this area. And so what happens is when the ceremony goes, they are kind enough to bring some extra chairs out, and then they order
allow
pizza.
you to sit down?
But we run out of plates. Yeah, they allow us to sit down, and then they bring out pizzas. But it's quite funny because you've got all these journalists from big news organizations from around the world, including us obviously here, and we're all sitting there eating pizzas off these paper plates, sort of sitting on the carpet waiting for things to start again. But yeah, it's not as glamorous as they say, but it is really a very interesting thing to see, to talk to these people that are so known around the world, and also talk to them about these films that have won tonight and what it means to them, and also I've asked a lot of questions about the role that film should or shouldn't play in regards to politics in the world today, and it's been really interesting to hear the varying thoughts on that. Everywhere, for anyone from Whitney Cummings to all sorts of people saying that both, yes, it should speak to it. Liz Hurley was saying it should speak to politics, but I think it should be nuanced, and I don't like it when things hit me over the head. So yeah, it isn't always as glamorous, but it is definitely very interesting and a very enlightening situation if you get the right people to talk to and you can get a good question in.
Well, we have to say that politics did did enter the stage a couple of times. It wasn't a heavily political night, but as well as people talking about the importance of cinema and the filmmaking industry, naturally, there were a few kind of political stances, particularly, I would say, the No Other Land, when they won their prize for documentary feature film. That, of course, is the documentary which was a collective Israeli and Palestinian filmmakers made that together, and they had a very strong, I'd say probably one of the strongest speeches of the night, calling really for unity, talking about the foreign policy in the US, really kind of calling on people to come together like they have in this small way in the film to make this very powerful documentary, saying, you know, we need this on a bigger scale. We need the authorities and those in charge to have this same approach to maybe bringing people together rather than dividing them. Then, of course, Daryl Hannah presented a prize. She very briefly mentioned Ukraine, didn't she? Kind of a message of support for Ukraine. Very brief, moved on, but it was there. So there was a sort of a gentle bubbling of politics. Often at the Academy Awards, politics is very much ignored. There weren't really lots of mentions of current political goings on. There weren't any direct mentions of President Donald Trump or President Zelensky, but definitely there were some political thoughts going on, I think it's fair to say.
Yeah, a bit of influence. Like even Conan O'Brien had mentioned a couple of bits referencing Donald Trump very slightly, but not mentioning by name. And we also had a couple of bits, like when Zoe Saldana was making her acceptance speech, she was bringing up immigration, but not bringing up the exact news headlines that we're seeing.
Exactly, saying yes, literally, that she was from her parents, or was it her grandmother came over, I think, in 61, and then her parents were immigrants. She was obviously now this great big successful actress, but she was saying she hopes that there will be many more people like her to come, and that actually the door hasn't closed and that's it now, and saying, look, you know, look at me, I'm a success, I'm giving to society, what on earth's going on here that, you know, doors are closing. It was, interesting political messages along with all the fashion, and as we have said, that melting pot of creatives, because that's what this is, isn't it, the Academy Awards? Thousands and thousands of filmmakers and actors and editors and sound people and fashion people and designers, all in this one space in LA in one night in the Dolby Theatre, and then now going to these wonderful after parties. No wonder there's all these amazing conversations you're talking about, Jason. We've got some of the world's biggest creatives all coming together and buzzing off of each other. It's such an exciting time.
Absolutely, that's a really interesting point. And when I was talking to Julia Fox when I asked this question, she said a really interesting point. She said when you look back at art history, you can see the politics of the day of when it was made, which I thought was fascinating. But look at this, an interesting point. You know, we know I am at the Elton John AIDS Foundation party. When I was talking to Liz Hurley earlier on in the night, she was like, well, you know, obviously I'm rooting for Elton because he's nominated, but he didn't win.
No, he didn't win. He was up, wasn't he, for Never Too Late. He's already obviously an Oscar winner. I mean, he does have a few Oscars. You know, he's got some awards at home. I don't feel too bad for Sir Elton. But you're right. I think there was a feeling, obviously, with big celebrity names. Sometimes, you know, there's lots of Academy members. There's lots of films to watch. There's lots of things they have to do. So maybe having a celebrity name on the ballot might sway it sometimes. But yes, he sadly did not take the award tonight. But I feel like he'll still be all right. I mean, I think he'll still be enjoying his party.
He was showing up anyway because he has this party, so it doesn't matter.
I'm cancelling my party. I did not win an Oscar.
I want to bring up a weird I wouldn't be surprised, no. Obviously, it's a fundraiser that does incredible work and has raised millions over the last 3 decades. But I want to bring up a random person. Jane Seymour was here at the beginning, and I was asking her, yeah, exactly. And I was asking her about, this is obviously before the ceremony had happened, so, you know, what she's excited for. And I am forgetting the exact film that she said, but she kept bringing this thing up, and maybe you guys can add some context to this. She kept bringing up that, you know, I think they're all winners because, you know, once you're nominated, you know, sometimes when the film that win isn't really the winner, but, you know, it's the politics and it's the movements in the background. And she kind of mentioned it 2 or 3 times, which I thought was strange. But, I mean, you know, you guys know that there is campaigning that happens in this. There's a lot of money that is spent behind the scenes in order to try and get both a nomination and an Oscar. Do you think that's what she was sort of referring to there?
Absolutely. There are 2 performances. You do your performance in the film, and then you do your performance in the campaign. And I would say both are equally important. Perhaps the most important is winning the part in the first place, because let's face it, it's got to be a great role. You've got to be a good actor to do it, but without the role you can't do anything. But the campaigning this year is part of the reason it's been so chaotic, I think. It has been, I wouldn't say brutal, maybe that's a slight exaggeration, but there's been a lot of kind of whisper campaigns, the feeling that maybe there was some negative campaigning. I mean, obviously Harvey Weinstein is no longer part of the industry, but he was infamous both for his success at the Oscars, but also for very negative campaigning. And I think this year we have seen touches of negative campaigning. We've never quite known where it comes from, but things don't come out of nowhere. And also there's the actors performing. That's what they do for their job. It's not necessarily fake, but when they win an award in the run-up to this, the biggest of all the awards, it's their moment on the stage, it's their moment to give a speech, it's a moment to put their narrative into place. And that is so important because people are voting. You know, you've got Demi Moore talking about being a popcorn actress in your head when you're voting and you're deciding, does she deserve an Oscar? And you think, oh my goodness, that was an amazing speech she gave at the Golden Globes. It's a really big part of it. In fact, we were talking about it earlier, weren't we, Debbie, and saying that the campaigning is such a big part of, and also the timing of the film. Has it caught fire at the moment people are voting, or did it catch fire after the ballots had closed? Because it's no good if that's the case.
Yeah.
And it's funny, even thinking about the campaigning this year, Kieran Culkin actually didn't do that much campaigning. It was Jesse Eisenberg that was at every single carpet that you could imagine.
And then he didn't win the award.
For him. And it was kind of, it's looking at the line of, okay, are we promoting the film? Are we promoting the person?
Who are we promoting? Are we shifting halfway through? Are we promoting one person and then putting our money on somebody else? Because Netflix very quickly pivoted when they had their issues around their campaign, as I've said, self-destructed, and very quickly pivoted to Zoe Saldana, as even though she was their support actress, although there's a whole debate there.
She really was think she should have been the lead, because she was well over the 55 minutes.
Category fraud is kind of what it's called, but you know, they decide where to campaign. The voters kind of decide, they often go along with it, but you know, there's a whole politics to that, really, isn't there? But of course they pivoted to Zoe Saldana. Netflix then put all their money behind her and making her a big part of the whole process, and it paid off, didn't it? They won 2 awards.
It is interesting though that
for her, really.
even with everything that happened with Amelia Perez, it still didn't do too badly there. But it's interesting that you mentioned Jesse Eisenberg. I was thinking exactly the same thing, that he was absolutely everywhere campaigning like I'd never seen him do before, to be fair, in any of the films, or even in any of the interviews that I've done with him in the past. He's always sort of been a bit retreating and shy and not, you know, hugely comfortable with coming forwards with things. And it was a whole new Jesse Eisenberg on this. He did pick up the BAFTA. I thought it was interesting. I really did think he was going to get, original screenplay. This one. Yeah, I thought he had it in the bag. I thought he'd done all the right things. I thought all the signs were there. Yeah. And am I right? It was Sean Baker who picked that up in the end. And I wondered what you guys thought of that, because that was a surprise to me, an absolute surprise. That kind of caught me off guard.
I really thought that Jesse Eisenberg was going to take that as well. But like when you're looking at this, I actually spoke to Jesse a good few times on those carpets, because like that, he's been at every carpet that I've been covering for the last few months, and he was actually saying that, win or lose it.
How many times have you interviewed him?
I genuinely think it's 5 times in the past
your pal
month
Jesse.
and a half. Like,
give him a buzz.
We're on first name basis at this stage. It's getting a bit odd. Like, I actually got a nod off him at the BAFTAs. Yeah. I was like, see you again. I
have to say, you're so right. That was one. It wasn't an intake of breath like Mikey Madsen taking Best Actress, but I think in my head I had thought, even though I think Anora was my favourite film of the season, I really enjoyed it. I think it's great that it has swept with 5 Oscars. But I thought the fact it felt so beautifully off the cuff and almost improvised, even though it wasn't, would work against it in the script writing, because you kind of have that feeling almost like they're just riffing off of each other, and it feels a bit too natural. You think, oh, well, that didn't take a lot of script writing because it was all very improvised, and it absolutely wasn't. It's all there on the page.
It's all on the page. And even so when I was speaking to Jesse, when he was saying that basically if he didn't win, it was okay, because it was back in October when the first sniffs of award season were coming around, and he was getting this acknowledgement. From the very first nomination that he received, he told me that basically he got the green light for his next film, all because of that first bit of attention. And so he's now ready to shoot his 3rd film already, and that's thanks to the very first award that he was nominated for, not anything else beyond the award season. So we can expect from the amount that we have seen from him in the past few months, that maybe we're going to get far more than just a third film from him in the next few years.
Well, I really hope so, because it was very warmly received. And I noticed when he appeared and when he's talked about and when his name was called out, there was a warm feeling in the arena. I felt like he had a lot of support there. And even though I think Sean Baker was kind of the man of the night, really. I know Adrian Brody took Best Actor.
Well, I want to pick up
he
on
was man of the night, really. It was Baker's night.
I want to pick up on Sean Baker there. Am I allowed to humble brag, Debbie and Bethany?
Go for it.
Do it.
So, if anyone has a look on the site, we have our Oscars predictions that the team did, and one of mine made it in. But two ones that I thought were controversial and I really went for was director Sean Baker, Best Picture Honora, and guess what happened?
You got the double. Do you know what?
We got a mistake, Megan, our miss.
Yeah.
I went for Honora. I called that, but you're right. I didn't. I called Brady Corbet for director. So you're right. It was. I think everyone thought it was between the two of them, didn't they? But actually, retrospectively, it feels right that Sean Baker won it. And you kind of think, why didn't I see that coming? But I think for some reason, I just thought that 3.5-hour epic, a film that is about creating great art. I kind of thought that filmmakers and the directors and the actors would really recognise that, because I know it's about architecture, but let's face it, it is about making art. You can put that to whatever your art happens to be, e.g. acting. Yeah. But no, I was wrong. Sean Baker just swooped and got it, and deservedly.
And talking about triple threats as well, because not only did he win those awards of editing as well as screenplay and director, that's because he was the one who edited. He's the one who wrote the screenplay. He's the one who directed. It was an all hands in effort for Sean Baker.
Well, you make a good point. He has literally made history, hasn't he, tonight? He now ties with Walt Disney, who back in the 50s, I think it was 54, also won 4 awards. Obviously, Honora was actually up for 6, but Sean Baker himself personally was up for 4. And he now ties because he won all of them. And if you look back at Walt Disney, he won them for a different film each in the same year, whereas Sean Baker won it all for Honora. So he's made history.
That is interesting, isn't it? Yeah. Absolutely fascinating. And also, did you notice, I thought it was quite funny when he won editing, and he said, you should have seen what I had to work with. It was shot terribly. Of course, he was referring to himself because it was his footage. But again, like, when you look at Honora, though, it's, there are elements to it which, to me, spelt out that the industry was really going to recognize and love it. Fresh, very young, very new, low budget, independent. But again, it's this thing that was shot on 35mm film. It has these brilliant different types of tracking shots, which everyone loves. I mean, if you think about things like, Birdman, for example, these kind of shots are the things that the Academy and filmmakers really, really love, and especially harking back to, the film. And it's interesting because programs like Euphoria, for example, I think it was from season 2, went back to shooting on film as well. So I think there is a real trend moving back towards shooting on film. I think it's very admired, it's very recognized, and again, it's just, an original story, independent, shot on film, great tracking shots. For me, it had all the ingredients of an Academy favorite, particularly for those
the word for me is authentic, and I think it pulled that off. Jason, I can literally see people behind you carrying Amazon boxes. This is like a skit from earlier in the night. I hope they're not packing up. Hopefully they're just going to get more booze to take it in, ready for when you get into the party. We have got Katie on the Vanity Fair red carpet waiting to chat to us, but then hopefully we will come back to you shortly. Thank you, Jason. Hey, Katie, you've got some beautiful, sparkly ladies behind you.
Glitz and glam.
We do. Actually, dare I say it, the traffic jam of celebrities seems to be easing up slightly. But where is Adrian Brody? We're yet to see Adrian Brody here. He must be on his way, surely. And Mikey Madison, for that matter. Demi Moore's gone inside, though. Rafe Fiennes. We've had a lot of people, a lot of celebrities, certainly, that haven't won. So maybe that means that probably the winners are somewhere having their pictures taken.
Of course, they'll be doing special
I can see one winner out the corner of my eye, though. Paul Tazewell, who was the costume designer for Wicked. History making his win tonight. The first black man to win for costume design. He said in his speech, of course, that it meant a great deal to him to be receiving that honour. But what do we think of the costumes for Wicked? They were fantastic,
Well,
weren't
Debbie
they?
was chatting about them earlier, weren't you, Debbie, and saying that some of that attention to detail on the screen is actually, you know, it's not just about looking good, it's actually got meaning behind it.
Yeah, and when we look at it as well, Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande, they have been obsessed with the stage adaptation of Wicked all along, and so when they actually got these roles, they wanted to make sure that their personal effects were on it. So like I was saying, the Elphaba dress at the very last scene actually has parts of the lyrics etched onto the dress of hers. And yeah, they're just lovely little added elements that you wouldn't even see on camera, but that just shows the love and dedication to it.
Isn't that Jessica Gunning there behind you in the blue? I can't quite see her face, but I do believe that is Baby Reindeer star behind us. Very
Baby
wonderful
Reindeer.
British actress. And we can't, she's behind the chap in the glorious blazer, but she is looking equally lovely behind her. Actually, it's reminded me, you talking about Cynthia and Ariana, didn't they get matching tattoos of poppies on their hands?
Loads of tattoos. I think they said 7 or 8 in the process.
Goodness. Yeah. They're going to have to watch that for the continuity.
Oh, come on! Are we not getting matching tattoos from the live stream tonight? I think we need to workshop what our tattoos
I'm
are
up
going
for
to be
it.
after
Let's get
this.
Jason in on the action. We can all. I don't know what we'd have. An Oscar, I suppose. It has to be an Oscar, right?
No. So what happens is we go
Shall
down
we,
there-
or some chewing gum, maybe? No, let's not do that.
Signed by Adrian Bone.
Shall we give you a nice slow pan along the line here to see whether you guys, perhaps you're better at spotting
Well,
people
beside,
than I am.
beside
And if
Jessica
not,
Gunning, you've
even
got
if we
Ice
don't
Spice
recognise
and
them,
Ziegler there. And Lupita Nyong'o.
In the black and white and the monochrome. Of course, a wild robot she voices, doesn't she, I believe?
Oh yeah, fantastic.
Yeah, in the little feathery top. Jason was saying, actually, he's quite right. There is quite a lot of monochrome. Obviously, black is always a popular colour.
As well, from Game of Thrones.
Yes, with
Well,
her
look,
pirate hat. Pirate inspired.
We were all speculating, weren't we, before this ceremony took place, whether or not it would affect the wildfires and the devastation that's happened from the fires over the last couple of months. And as the city sort of recovers, we thought perhaps it might be a bit more of a sombre tone to the ceremony. And they did have that element of bringing on the firefighters that got a massive standing ovation and probably, well, yes, absolutely the longest applause of the night, didn't they? But actually, in terms of fashion, while there are a few sort of monochrome looks, we've seen people haven't sort of shied away from going for these really sort of big looks, have they? I mean, again, I'm thinking of Wicked and Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo.
Katie, we were debating earlier about Timothée Chalamet and his yellow suit. Now, you're one of the only people to have seen it in person. Describe the yellowness of the suit to us, and did it work? Did it look good?
Do you know what? I think Timmy, and I may be wrong because it all happened very quickly when he walked past me, but I think he, like a number of the ladies who are working on deals with designers, I think he might have actually turned up in a different outfit to his Oscar one, so I'm not sure I can actually comment on his lemon outfit. I like lemon, it's all right, isn't it? A bit like a sort of sherbety sweet.
I like that description. I'm wearing tomato, so that's quite nice. You're wearing a kind of like a, what fruit is
I'm
that?
representing last year with Barbie here at the moment.
Yeah. You're still cross that Barbie didn't get the prizes it deserved. Katie, listen, it's been
I tell you who has gone inside who looked terrific as well.
Who?
Sorry, Coleman Domingo. Coleman Domingo throughout award season hasn't put a step
Katie,
wrong,
I
has
think
he?
he got up on stage and did a dance in one of the breaks. Now, we didn't get to see it here because it was obviously during an ad break, but somebody posted online, so if you have a quick Google, he gets on stage and he does a bit of a dance in his lovely red suit. It's brilliant. I mean, what a man. He didn't get Best Actor, but he deserved it, didn't he?
I think he is one of the greatest actors of our time, though. He is absolutely extraordinary, and the Oscar will come to him within the next few years. Mark my words, that's my big
Katie,
prediction.
we are being pulled away from you because you're very much in demand, but it's been so great to chat to you tonight. I really hope you get into the party, and we will see you on the other side.
I'll see you. I'll have that glass of champagne and I'll see you for the chewing gum tattoo.
Deal.
We've committed to it now.
Thanks, Katie. We are locked and loaded now. You see, that's the trouble. Once you've said something on a live stream, it is there. You can't deny it. I can see now that the Elton John red carpet, it looks like most people have gone into the party. And let's face it, if it's kind of like 11:30 in the US
It's time
right
for a
now,
boogie. That's what's happening.
you want a drink, don't you? You've just watched 3.5 hours of Conan O'Brien doing jokes. As good as they were, you need
time
your
to enjoy your
drink.
night.
Yeah, exactly. I think tonight's Oscars has been a bit of a roller coaster ride, not a crazy one. I don't feel at any point I was going to get thrown out of my seat, but I definitely feel like there were moments where it took me somewhere unexpected. I enjoyed the speeches, I enjoyed the hosting. I think the right film swept for me. Anora was my winner of the year. I feel like it was a really good Academy Awards this year.
Yeah, I think it was a really good year for filmmaking in general, because we are starting to see a return to cinema that we saw back in the 80s, back in the 90s. Even when you look at best cinematography, the winner of that is Lol Crowley, a Welshman. And this was actually filmed in Vista Vision, which, if you know, that is it's basically the same lens that was used for the 1977 Star Wars film.
And didn't Hitchcock use it as well? I mean, the granddaddy of film.
Yeah. And so, like, you can sense that when you watch The Brutalist, of going, okay, this is a return to the authentic filmmaking. I know digital is so easily accessible now, but going back to film, it has those limitations. Does it help? I think it does. It does help the growth and the strength of the films that we're getting.
Yeah, definitely. Well, listen, I've got to say thank you, Debbie, for joining me here tonight. Of course, thank you to Katie Spencer in LA on the Vanity Fair red carpet. Thank you to Jason Mansouri for us on the Sarah Elton John red carpet. Thank you for staying up late or getting up early, whichever you did, watching what the stars are getting up to in LA post-Oscars and for dissecting it with us, really. This is obviously going to be the story of the day. If you're heading off into work, it's going to be on all the papers. This is what we're going to talk about for several days now. Thank you for joining us. Read up. If you missed any of the top lines, they'll all be on our Sky News webpage. We're still live blogging the reaction and what's kind of going on post the Oscars. And of course, now you've got your list of Oscar winners. You can check out all the films that you perhaps didn't get to see before the Oscars. You can pick the best ones. And I think Anora probably is the one to go for first if you've not seen any. It's my favourite of the year. What was your favourite, Debbie?
I had a mix of Sing Sing was one of my favourites. I watched that last February and it held on for every single month ever since. That and A Complete Unknown and Anora. They were my top three. I haven't figured out which was my number one because they were all so different, but that's the beauty of the film world.
That is the beauty of it, isn't it? So yeah, you got your 4 films to watch if you haven't watched any of them. Let us know what you think. Let us know if you think the right films won. And of course, now we have got the whole year of films to come ready for 2025 Oscars. Yeah, there'll be more, don't worry. We will, of course, be back next year. We'll be back before then at the next red carpet event to chat to you. But thanks for joining us. It's been brilliant having you with us and see you again soon.